Hey, Hammer 44 here. Thanks for stopping by. Today's video is the first in a series I'm calling Preserving This Kid's Collection. And the kid I'm referring to in this episode is my 11-year-old self. I was an ambitious sports fan who idolized Henry Aaron and loved the Atlanta Braves. I won countless imaginary championships with last-second miracles and walk-off heroics. I was a kid whose physical abilities always lagged my ambitions, but on occasion would make that one real-life play that kept me digging and scratching and going after more. I had two close friends, Doug and Robbie. I rode a BMX bike, saw the original Star Wars movies in the theaters, discovered the magic and stress of girls, and I lived for the after-school neighborhood football and basketball games. Getting straight A's was completely effortless. I had a pinball machine in my room that I shared with my older brother. There were the occasional sleepovers at Doug or Robbie's, which always turned into late-night adventures around the neighborhood and getting to do all those things I couldn't do at home. My dad was in the Air Force and we lived on base at the time. Doug lived across the street and Robbie was one street over. These were my wonder years. I can easily relate to Kevin Arnold's growing pains, trials, and tribulations. Kevin's prize garment was his New York Jets jacket. Mine? A Franco Harris number 32 Pittsburgh Steelers mesh jersey, ordered out of a Sears catalog I got for Christmas in 1979. That was the same year I got the pinball machine. I wore that jersey everywhere. Lynn Swann was my favorite Steeler. Walter Payton of the Chicago Bears was my overall favorite player. Doug was a New England Patriots fan and had a jacket similar to Kevin Arnold's. Same style with the contrasting colored sleeves. The after-school hangout was the youth center, which was just a block away from my house, and it's where most of the preteen middle schoolers hung out. It's also where we schemed and planned our next moves and adventures. Every Friday night was a youth dance that culminated a week's worth of exaggeration and wishful banter of which girl we were going to ask to slow dance. Most of them were nearly a foot taller than we were, but it never stopped us. Most times it never worked out quite the way we imagined, but on occasion. So many life lessons in such a short period of time. That youth center was also the place I bought my first baseball cards. A pack of 1979 Topps. I think I paid 10 cents a pack. The box advertised 20 cents, but we could get them for a dime. I typically got 9 packs of cards and a 10-cent piece of candy. I had discovered the Atlanta Braves and the Chicago Cubs a year or so earlier when my parents got cable TV and TBS and WGN superstations were part of the basic programming. I quickly learned who Dale Murphy and Phil Niekro were. I learned the voices of Ernie Johnson, Pete Van Wieren, and Skip Carey. Catching up on the Braves became a part of my daily routine. Sometimes I could catch an entire game, which was a treat. Back then, we had a single TV in the living room, and my dad didn't quite enjoy the Braves as much as I did. He grew up in Rockford, Illinois, which is northwest of Chicago, and followed the Cubs. Watching baseball was a weekend thing for him. If the Braves were playing on the West Coast, I could catch some of the game after he went to bed. He was an avid subscriber of the Sporting News, so I could also follow the league there. His collection went back to the 1960s, and a new edition came in the mail every week in the form of a newspaper. I carefully read everything I could, being sure not to tear any pages or displace any of them from how they came off the press. I learned so much about the players whose cards I now collect from those papers. That and the Sports Illustrated magazines I could read at the library. My early collecting certainly reflects what I was reading at the time as I was trading for Hank Aaron, Willie Mays, Roberto Clemente, Warren Spahn, Carl Yastrzemski, and Sandy Koufax. Brooks Robinson was also often a target, as was Frank Robinson, Tom Seaver, Rod Carew, Pete Rose, and Johnny Bench. Thurman Munson and Reggie Jackson were the only Yankees I really collected. I knew about Mickey Mantle and Roger Maris and their historic home run chase in 1961, but I just don't remember coming across many of their cards, except for the multiplayer cards they appeared on throughout the 70s. I learned a lot more about them when my grandparents brought my dad his baseball card collection to him in the early 1980s. He collected all throughout the 1950s into 1960. He had all the key cards from Topps and Bowman, as well as most of the commons. I remember they brought them to him in paper grocery sacks and old cigar boxes. I am fortunate to still have some of those cards, but he sold his collection in the mid-80s. The centerpieces of his collection were the 1951 Bowman and 1952 Topps Mickey Mantles. He had a near-complete 1952 Topps set to include the high numbers. Today I would grade most of them as VG to EX, with some near mint. They were well cared for, and he immediately put them into sheets and binders when they were brought to him. He did his own pen and ink database on yellow legal paper, as home computers were not yet readily available. I remember seeing the Mantles, Mays, Aarons, Clementes, Banks, Kalines, Gibsons, Barras, Fellers, Spawns, Matthews, up to and including the 1960 Yastrzemski rookie. My favorite sets were the 1953 and 1954 Topps. When we talk about them today, he also brings up the exhibit cards he collected and how he'd pay a penny a card and pull them from a vending machine. I never saw the exhibits, but have since started collecting my own as I see them. His were the blank back variety, and he shares the stories as if he purchased them just yesterday. This is the beauty of this hobby. It easily spans generations and plows common ground for all walks of life. American sports in general are so important to our relationship. We always have something to discuss and debate that doesn't involve politics or religion. That love of sport runs 4 generations deep in my family, as my boys and grandson are just as consumed with them as I am. Talking about the Braves and texting during every game ensures we stay connected and informed on what's going on in our lives. MLB TV has replaced TBS, and we can stream nearly every game, no matter where we are or what we might be doing. As long as we have Wi-Fi or cell service, we can bust each other's chops and cheer on our favorite team. Baseball has a way of maintaining balance in our lives, even in the off-season. For me, it's definitely a journey. I rarely miss a game, and if I do, I'll either watch the recap highlights or the entire game later if my schedule allows. There's just something about watching professional athletes play a game I love at a level that I could never achieve outside my imagination or an occasional dream. The cards and memorabilia I collect deepen that passion and further connect me to the times and places this journey has blessed me with. I've met a lot of the players I collect in person, some on multiple occasions. At times I've had locker room level access, and never forget these are men who experience the same life challenges we do. They have ups, they have downs, they live under extreme scrutiny. Some merely look out for themselves, while others use their platform to better humanity. I definitely gravitate to the latter, and you'll see that in my collecting. So thanks for stopping by and taking an interest in my story. My intent is to honor the greatness of these players who have unknowingly accompanied me through my lifetime. These little pieces of cardboard connect me to their incredible achievements. They connect me to a community of other collectors with their own stories. Remember, without each other and the ability to share our finds and pickups, this would be about as fun as taking a Nolan Ryan fastball to the face. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks for letting me share my story.